The Los Angeles Lakers had a pretty disappointing 2018-2019 season, and it was plagued by injuries and all sorts of unfortunate things, and they've got a lot to prove this year. Last year, they were 16th in points per game with 111.8, 21st in points allowed with 113.5, fourth in pace, probably even higher this year with the new roster they've got. No key player last year played more than 55 games. LeBron played 55, Ingram played 52, Lonzo played 47. I mean, Kuz did play 70, but what is Kuz going to do with JaVale McGee and Rondo to push the Lakers to the playoffs? And during the last part of the season, their chemistry was completely destroyed and their playoff hopes dwindled quickly, even with the return of LeBron, Everybody was all worried about the trade rumors and, everything just kind of fell apart for them when it was supposed to be a fantastic season. LeBron was supposed to bring the Lakers back to the promised land. Instead, they missed the playoffs and won 37 games. But this offseason has brought a lot of hope to the Lakers fans with the huge trade for AD. Lonzo, Ingram, Hart, the number 4 pick in the 2019 draft, a top 8 2021 first, swap rights for a 2023 first, unprotected 2024 first round pick that the Pelicans can defer to 2025. And this was the beginning of the new look Lakers that we see today. Some key free agent additions were Danny Green. He signed a 2-year, $30 million deal, which was a slight overpay. He was worth about $8 to $10 million a year easy, but I guess for 2 years it's not all that bad. Avery Bradley, he was god-awful with the Clippers, but he showed some promise in 14 games for the Grizzlies. He shot 38% on 5.2 attempts from 3, 4 assists per game, and, like I said, it was only 14 games, but hopefully he sustains and brings back the Boston Avery Bradley. And that's about it for their free agency. I know a lot of people were hoping for Kawhi Leonard or Chris Middleton or Kemba Walker, but instead they got Troy Daniels, Quinn Cook, Jared Dudley, who are mostly non-factors. I mean, Jared Dudley is a good locker room guy, but that's about it. And McGee, Rondo, and Caruso are returning. I know Caruso's on his rookie contract or whatever. And they also added Dwight Howard very late in the offseason. I mean, this was only a little bit ago, but he could add some nice defense and rebounding, hopefully, especially since DeMarcus Cousins, who was going to be a key addition, he's out with ACL, and now he's got an arrest warrant out for him. So they really needed a replacement big man, and it was between Joakim Noah and Dwight Howard. And if Dwight really has taken a step back with his ego and everything, I think this is a good move for them, and I think he's better than Joakim Noah, at least for this team. With the defense and rebounding that Dwight Howard and Anthony Davis could pair up, that could be an absolute monstrous duo. Because Dwight's still getting double-digit rebounds, and he's, old as dirt. And he's nowhere near the Dwight Howard that we used to see. Now, their expectations for 2020 is a heck of a lot more than for what they had last year. Last year, they still had Lonzo, Ingram, and, they were supposed to take leaps or whatever, but nobody played any games. This year, they finally have what was supposed to be the key in Anthony Davis, and now they have LeBron. They have the 2 superstars that we're talking about. So this is when they're really supposed to take off and be serious finals contenders. I think realistic expectations for them is probably a 3rd seed with 55-ish wins. The Clippers and Nuggets are better suited for the regular season. They have a lot more depth. But the Clippers may rest Kawhi and Paul George and give way for the Lakers to get a higher seeding. But then again, the Lakers may also rest their players, so who knows. But I think a 3rd seed is probably realistic in the West, They'll probably have a top 15 offense, somewhere probably 12 to 15, but could be a top 10. We do need to see how well the pure shooters like Troy Daniels and Quinn Cook will play around Braun. I mean, you've also got Danny Green. It feels like you've got a lot more shooting on this team than you did last year, which is what they should have done in the first place. I mean, even Rondo shot 36% from 3 last year. I mean, come on. They'll probably have a top 20 defense from Anthony Davis alone because he's an absolute freak of nature. And I think we've all forgotten how good he was. He was supposed to be an MVP candidate last year, and this year he may be that, because I don't think Bron will dominate the ball as much as he did last year. He'll obviously have the point guard roles and stuff, but he won't have to carry a full load like he did last year or with some other teams, because Anthony Davis is pretty up there and, probably on the same level as how old LeBron is right now. They're probably near the same level. So Anthony Davis may have an MVP case this year, especially if the Lakers do well. But assuming LeBron isn't a disaster and Green, Howard, and Bradley play good defense, they could be a 15 to 18th best defense. Really, I don't know, because look at the rest of their roster. Sure, the starting lineup, Rondo, Danny Green, Bron, AD, and Dwight Howard, that could be a pretty good defensive lineup. As assuming LeBron isn't, what he was last year. But the rest of the players, the bench, sure, they'll have good rim protection, probably great rim protection. They got Dwight Howard, Anthony Davis, and JaVale McGee. JaVale McGee had 2 blocks a game last year, and Dwight Howard can probably still get some blocks, and he's still strong as hell. But the perimeter defense is pretty questionable outside of Rondo and Danny Green. Bradley, Bron, and Caldwell Pope are pretty unproven at this point. Caldwell Pope is supposed to be a good defender, but he's kind of been inconsistent, so I guess we'll see what he brings to the table. But Quinn Cook and Troy Daniels and Jared Dudley, I don't think they're going to be, like I said, they're probably non-factors besides the shooting that they bring. But other than that, there's not that much more that they bring to the table. So defensively, they could be okay. They'll probably be at least decent because of Anthony Davis alone. And who knows, maybe Avery Bradley will revert to his Boston self, and Rondo's also pretty good perimeter defender. Danny Green is a good defender. This could be a pretty decent defensive team, but a lot of things have to go right, and so I guess we'll see what happens there. But aside from the expectations this year, this could decide a lot for the future of their organization. Bron is aging. I think he's getting up there. I think he's like 35, 36 years old now, and AD may not stay long term if this year's a flop, because he hasn't committed to the Lakers long term already, and he definitely should not, because he doesn't know what's there. He's got to do what's best for his career. He doesn't want to have a repeat of the Pelicans. I'm not saying the Lakers are going to turn into the Pelicans, but with their lack of draft picks and young players, this could be disastrous if things don't go well and AD just decides to leave. It could be disastrous, because you got a 37, 38-year-old Bron and Alex Caruso, Kyle Kuzma probably. Sure, there'll be plenty of other free agents, but how many of them are going to want to come play with a near 40-year-old LeBron? They had a hard enough time getting free agents come in this summer. So this team has got a lot riding on this year, and I think if they get to the conference finals, that's probably considered a success, and they've got some players locked down for a couple years. They can just run it back and then maybe add some more this year. Maybe they'll go after somebody like Mike Conley if they end up making space or something. I don't know. We'll see. Either way, the Lakers are an exciting team with lots at stake, and the LA rivalry at least should be very fun to watch, because AD and Bron versus Kawhi and Paul George, I'll be watching every game of that. Either way, Lakers got a lot to lose. I guess we'll see what happens.